Welcome to our video on pedagogical documentation and using Google Keep.
This project is a collaboration between Business and Learning Technologies and the Intermediate Itinerant team. In our intermediate classrooms, we collect information for many different purposes and in many different ways to help make thinking and learning visible. This process allows us to respond to student voice and therefore individualize learning more effectively. Google Keep is one tool that can help us collect, store, and annotate the learning we see every day. We can leverage our documentation to support our assessment for, of, and as learning. For example, evidence we collect from observation, conversations, and products can be used to guide our planning for whole or small group learning, as well as the support we provide for individual students. The data we collect can impact our responses to students and therefore impact the decisions we take with regard to differentiating learning opportunities. Evidence we collect from or by students allows us to support metacognition, which provokes reflection or deeper learning. In summary, pedagogical documentation can help teachers see how students are thinking and/or learning, and help us to take action and be more responsive to the learners in our classroom.
The OCDSB has a signed agreement with Google and D2L, which means that if all the content, photos, videos, stories, audio recordings are stored on Google Drive or the OCDSB D2L environment, there's no need for additional parental consent. Before using a third-party app, educators need to review the privacy agreement with their principal to see what data is being collected, where it will be stored, and how it will be used, to see if they can use the app, and if they need additional parental consent. The OCDSB is currently developing a D2L portfolio tool that will soon be available. Stay tuned. Today, we will look at one app, Google Keep, which is part of the Google Suite, so no additional parental consent is needed. You can download Keep for your phone, iPad, or in tablets. In a web browser, you simply go to keep.google.com. The first step in setting up your Google Keep for PedDoc for an intermediate classroom is creating your labels. One suggestion is to create one label per student. Here I have Ahmed, Jason, Letitia, and Sarah. To create another label for Morgan, I click on Create New Label and type her name. And then I click Done. After you have all your students entered, you can enter other labels that could be useful in classifying or to help you revisit your notes later.
For example, these categories could be based on process expectations, such as connecting, reflecting, or problem solving. Another suggestion might be to create labels based on various approaches to effective math instruction. This may include the use of tools and representations, evidence of classroom discourse, success criteria, and other aspects of a safe and supportive learning environment.
When creating a note on a Chromebook or a PC computer, simply click on Take a Note to start selecting and documenting your evidence. You can add pictures from your drive or add multiple labels. When using an iPad or a phone, you can start a note also by clicking Take a Note, but you do have additional options. If you want to dictate a note or record an audio file of a student, you have to click on the microphone first. You cannot add an audio file once you've started writing a note. You do have to do it at the start. To add a picture, which you can do first or after you have started writing a note, you click on the camera. Using a portable device allows you to use the device's camera and to take pictures that are stored directly in your drive.
We would like to draw your attention back to the placemat of the Observe, Document, and Analyze labels on the PedDoc cycle. It is important to remember that when we are sitting in observation of our students, we are recording what we see and hear without analysis or filter. This enables us to see the learning that is occurring instead of the learning we'd like to see. Think about remaining in a neutral mind frame during the observation stage.
Let's create a note for Morgan and her group. I click on Take a Note, and for this example, I'll use a picture from my drive. I can then enter text to write the story and enter a title. For the title of the note, we recommend that you type the date of the note, since the notes are not time-stamped and it is handy for tracking student progress. Once I've written my note, I can now add a label. In this case, I'll add Morgan's name. And since she was working with Letitia and Sarah, I'll add their names as well.
Once the documentation is saved in a note, we can revisit it later and think about how the learning we observed fits into our chosen labels, the curriculum expectations, or other learning outcomes that we may have for our students or our own teaching practice.
Once your note is complete, you can set a reminder for yourself to revisit the notes or label them at a later time. This could be a practical time, for example, during your prep every week. You can share your notes easily with parents and teachers by clicking on this icon. You can add their email or simply their name if they're already in your contact list. Note that when you share a note, the person you share it with will not be able to see the colors or labels you might have assigned to the note. As previously mentioned, evidence can also be collected by students and shared with their teacher. Since labels are not shared, students can add a hashtag directly in the note to identify and reflect on their learning. Once we have revisited the notes and used them for your intended purposes, you can choose to archive them so that you're not inundated with notes. You can then recall them by using the labels on the side or by the search bar at the top.
By using student names as labels, we have a quick tool to ensure that our documentation is equitable. If I click on Jason's label, for example, I see that I already have a few notes saved. But when I click on Letitia's label, I make a note to focus on her learning the next day.
You can also combine the power of Keep with Docs, and soon you'll be able to do it with Google Slides too. For example, when writing report cards for students, evidence stored in Google Keep can help reinforce your evaluation process. In Docs, choose Tools. Then, Keep Notepad to pull up your notes. And now you can directly take a note and pull it into the doc. You can still search by labels. If you wanted a digital portfolio with a slide deck for each student, you will soon be able to simply add the notes that relate to the student directly into the slides in a similar fashion. There are some powerful possibilities with this added feature.
Thank you for your time.
And good luck on your future pedagogical documentation.